Should you leave your corporate career and join the world of entrepreneurship? How do you know you're going to be successful and how do you know it's the right time? These and other questions we're going to answer together with my special guest, former BCG partner, Alexander Dreischuhl. Hi, my name is Ogi Vasilev, and I make these videos to help people start and grow a business and consecutively themselves. I spent a decade at leading companies such as Accenture, the Boston Consulting Group, Salesforce, doing consulting and business development. And I'm currently also mentoring some of the futures leaders at incubators such as the Harvard Business School, Entrepreneurs in Germany, and also back in my home country, Bulgaria. So today we're going to look into many of these interesting questions that many of you are excited about, meaning, is it the right time to start entrepreneurship? I'm sure that many of you are currently exploring the option or thought about it at least several times. That maybe at some point it makes more sense to work for yourself rather than continue your corporate career. What are the main risks? Is it the right thing for you? How can you test and how do you decide that right now the right time has come? These are some of the questions that we're going to answer in a special interview with Alexander. So please have a look at the conversation, and after that, we're going to meet here to debrief. Hi, everyone. Here I am again. I'm introducing all the exciting speakers we're going to see at the conference, Start Up Bulgaria, from the 8th till the 10th of November. And today I'm joined by an entrepreneur who had a stellar career in consulting. He made it very high in the ranks up to junior partner, and then he decided to pivot his career to entrepreneurship. So today we're going to understand why did he did so and what is his venture and what we can learn from him during the conference. So hi Alexander, nice to see you here.
Nice to see you, Ogi. Thanks for the invitation for the conference and also for your podcast as well.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, I mean, very happy that you're joining us. I see you somewhere in the nature. Where do we find you?
You can find me in the Pirin Mountains. We spend a lot of time together with my family here in winter, but also in summer. So it's good to have some fresh air while we are talking.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I should be doing that as well, I guess, getting some fresh air during these talks. So, like I said, I mean, when I was announcing it, I'm sure that whoever doesn't know is going to look you up on LinkedIn, and then they're going to see that you had a very stellar career at BCG, Boston Consulting Group, what we sometimes call fast track. And nevertheless, you decided for entrepreneurship. So can you guide us through that? Like, why did you decide to become an entrepreneur at some point?
Let's start from the consulting part. So I joined BCG directly out from university. So, and I think for me, it was still the right thing to do at that point in time because I wasn't sure if I would have my own company, how should I actually approach it? And working in consulting, doesn't matter if BCG or another company, gives you the right framework for setting up things. For example, as an entrepreneur, I stayed a bit longer because I actually enjoyed it, and I decided to exit just before the very important decision of do you actually want to become an equity partner or not? Because that's let's say a more long-term decision than just staying on for the next career step before that. How did I decide to become an entrepreneur? It was a combination of factors. First of all, as I said, I decided to exit consulting for good. Second of all, I decided to go back to Sofia, to Bulgaria, having spent maybe 12 years abroad, mostly in Germany, Italy, also in other countries due to the different projects that I worked on at BCG. This was the main reasoning about it.
Got it. Okay. And so you decided for entrepreneurship, and I guess like after, like it's a significant switch, right, from being a consultant, which most of the time would mean advising other people on what to do with their business, to owning a business yourself. What were the main difficulties you had by making this switch?
Exactly. So you're mentioning exactly the point that I would refer to. Probably because we share the same background from BCG. We mostly advise company executives and you see things being implemented rather slowly or also a bit differently from the original suggestion that you had as a consultant. And it's something where you say, hey, I can change that if I do it well for my own company. So this was a big motivational factor And by the way, as a consultant, I always try to convey the message of what I would do in the place of the client executives, which normally very often didn't lead to them doing it, but still the message was there. So yeah, this was part of the reasoning also to become entrepreneur. I think it's a couple of factors because you mentioned difficulties at the start. It's a couple of factors. First of all, where do you start? What's the right idea? So I would say the last half year before exiting BCG, I had a long list of things from fintechs to the insurance industry, where I mostly worked in at BCG to random other topics, which resonated with me for various reasons. For example, because I had angel investments in similar companies or those kinds of things. So long list of topics. Then how do you assess them? Potential for scaling, required investments. Do you want to bootstrap it? Do you want to raise capital? So all of these factors incorporated. Sorry, I decided to go into e-commerce because I would say it's a medium investment required, so I could actually bootstrap it. Second of
Yeah.
all, I had seen some success stories in the field. They were not as prominent 6 years ago as they are now, especially after COVID-19. And third of all, the potential for scaling. So basically, at that point in time, I saw it even as more limited than I see it now. Now I see a much, much bigger potential than I saw at this point. So maybe these three factors were the rationale of where to start. And where to start was a big decision. Of course, we made a lot of mistakes, even though we were very rational about which idea to take up. It was still a pretty rocky path. Let's say this is the main topic, and maybe the second topic is how do you actually approach it? Where do you start? How do you set it up? To be honest with you, I think this was much easier due to the consulting background, because normally that's what you do in consulting. You structure problems, you create work plans, you have your initial hypotheses, you know which analysis to run to be sufficiently secure in the outcomes that you want to generate, etc. So for me, it was more the ideation than the actual implementation of it. I don't know
Got
if that
it.
makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. But I mean, I just want to ask you a provocative question now, because someone might be a little bit skeptical of consultants saying, and as you said, we both were working in the same company, so we know what some people might be thinking, that a consultant is just having an opinion, and like I mean, some people would say analysis paralysis, right? Like you're just, I don't know, making a spreadsheet and nice slides, and apparently having a business is all about you going out there and delivering results, delivering revenues, making the sales, building a product, delivering to the market, and so on. So, what do you? I mean, how did you manage that transformation, or like what gave you the confidence that you will be able to actually deliver an actual product at scale and actually the scale at which you're doing it?
Well, I can understand the comments, and I think that's pretty common to hear, and I would actually agree. So it's a complete change of mindset. You have to do it. So it's not writing it down. It's not telling someone that you would, in their place, do it. You just have to go out and do it. And it starts from very simple things like incorporating a company, getting a VAT registration, getting the right documents in place, talking to suppliers, getting documentation from there, assessing it, getting the money out, right? So you have to spend it before you generate any revenues. At least in the field where I'm working with physical products, it is. So I tend to agree. So there is a certain threshold that you need to take, which in consultancy you usually don't have it, because in the end, the implementation initiative and the implementation risk is on the client side.
Yeah, got it. Okay, and then maybe one more question that I think many people are, let's say, struggling with is, so when do you decide to create a business? Do you try on your own, or are you looking for a co-founder? What did you do in your case, and why did you decide to do that?
Of course, it's a very individual opinion. You see people single-handedly being great entrepreneurs. You see people which are in teams, three or four co-founders together. It's two of us, and I think we need to mention that we have very complementary skills. So maybe based on my background, I'm more the analytical type. I structure more, and my co-founder is even more hands-on. Um, I would say he's better at communication, also in negotiations, due to his background. He's more going out and doing stuff. For example, um, he's in charge of our manufacturing facilities, in the communication with the regulatory bodies and those kinds of things. So we have a clear split of tasks. Um, but of course, by the way, it's always some part of chance connected to it because we are very close friends from school,
Mhm.
and we came back to Bulgaria at just a very similar time because he used to be a commercial pilot on an Airbus 320, and he used to live in South Korea for the last couple of years before returning to Bulgaria. So of course there was some part of coincidence connected to it, but also of course planning. So for the last half year or 1 year before we came back to Bulgaria, we were actively involved together in discussing what we should actually start doing when we return. So of course, combination of chance and planning, never only one of those.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And then maybe one question is because, like I said, we started with the fact that you were in consulting, very high in the ranks, and maybe many people will define you as extremely successful in that case. Now we went for a startup that, judging on the latest information I've seen, it also seems to be very successful. Can you define maybe for us what success looks like? Like, um, yeah,
Uh, fir- First of all, thank you for the kind words. I mean, I always try to describe it that yes, of course, there's a part of success where it requires background, it requires skills, but it's not to be underestimated how much hard work it requires because it's actually hard work. So we have a lot of we have a network of partners, colleagues, competitors in the similar e-commerce field that we're working with, and honestly, very different backgrounds, extremely different backgrounds. Some without university degree, some of them without so much international background, and it doesn't have a clear connection to the success of their companies. The only clear connection is the hard work. So all of them have spent at least a number of years building it from scratch, and when you stop working that hard, it doesn't scale as quickly. So that's clear because it's still we're still maybe at least a couple of years away uh, from the point where it will not be a founder-driven process. We try to transition currently into at least partially professional management, internal professional management, but it's still very founder-driven. So if you put in the work, if you do sound decision making, it's even more important. Um, so maybe that's my takeaway
got it.
on this. And regarding how to define success, success is I don't want to sound esoteric because at least my mindset is a bit different about it. Um, for me, success is defined by the fact if you are happy with what you're doing and if you are happy with where you are at the moment, this defines success. And for me personally, I'm happy because I see where we got after 5.5 to 6 years. I see a great team of young people around us that are, I would say, at least as motivated as we are. I see a huge growth potential and a growth potential for the company, for myself and my co-founder Ivo, but also for our employees. So I think we can give them a great setting for them to develop their skills and from skill set to professional growth to personal growth to, of course, also financial and other benefits around it. It's obviously connected with the roles at the company. So that's something that makes me very happy. And by this, I think this defines success for me. And as a side product, I think I'm very happy that we managed to create a successful company in Bulgaria, and by this connected the benefits of a company set up in Bulgaria with being able to tackle or international, probably the worldwide markets, or a major part of them, because the infrastructure that we set up in Bulgaria, with the right people at the right positions in the company, is sufficient to do that.
Got it. Okay. Very, very exciting, actually. And one thing that I wanted to ask you is, can you give us an example? Because I think, like, coming from consulting, you're very good, or you should be very good at problem solving. So can you give us an example of a difficult problem you had, and how did you go about solving it?
Look, I'll probably go one step further. So, problem solving in terms of big mistakes that we made in the first couple of months of setting up our company, and how we went from there in terms of solving it and making the next step. Of course, it depends on the product. Again, we are in a physical product space in e-commerce, but product market fit in its various dimensions. For us, it's are you able to make a sale? Are you competitive enough? And competitive in our market is, do you have visibility?
Yeah.
Is the pricing correct, etc. Because at the beginning we were thinking, well, we know what's required to sell. Great content, great advertising, having a good quality product at the right price. What we did underestimate in the initial segments that we targeted is that the competition was 10 years ahead of us. So we had to then pivot from there, look for segments where the competition is more difficult. And obviously we went for segments that are a bit more regulated. We have higher entry barriers. We mostly work in food, and I think it's called now food tech. So around specialty foods, superfoods, but also classical ones like tea, spices, nuts, dried fruits, and those kinds of things. Going further to nutritional supplements, and a bit beyond to everything that's around dry foods. So we pivoted very strongly from more competitive segments like, just as an example, like small electronics, for example, where we have very, very low entry barriers, to those ones where you need certificates of quality, certificates for your facilities. Because then we decided, okay, we've tested the market, it's pivoted, we have product market fit. We said, okay, how do we optimize it from there? But like, for example, we built up our own manufacturing and logistics facilities. We expanded into more and more international markets, first of all with the same products before expanding the portfolio and those kinds of steps. But that's already easier. So the first and most important one is product market fit, and I would say test it as cheap as possible. And by that I mean you don't need thousands or tens of thousands of units of stock. You can test it with 20 or 100, depending on the product that you're having, if it's a physical one, or with an MVP, a good MVP if it's a digital one, but not a perfect one, of course. So these are, it starts small, product market fit, and then optimizing it is easier, for sure.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, makes sense. And then maybe last question would be, so I mean, you entered the challenge of like going from, let's say, having I would call it a corporate job, like consulting job, to entrepreneurship. What would you advise people who right now are thinking if they should join the entrepreneurial crowd or kind
Um,
of jump into the
I think it's
entrepreneurial
very
adventure.
individual when the right moment is. I don't think there is a clear path of something being better than the other. From our former colleagues, many have great careers still in consulting or in big corporations, and they're very happy with it. Defining success in different ways. I think you need to feel the necessity of wanting to do stuff yourself, to do stuff quicker, and the way you think it's it's the correct way, without the need to align with a number of people, a number of advisors or whatever, boards, management, and those kinds of things. So it's about the mentality, and then it's. I think the second thing is about the timing. Um, in my opinion, you have to have at least a rough idea where you want to go, and the first couple of months. And the third point is you have to have an idea about capital, because I've seen many entrepreneurs
Yeah.
struggle very quickly with capital, and this, in my opinion, pushes you away from right decision making and right actions, because you need to have a room to breathe, or how is it called, runway. I would say at least room to breathe for, let's say, 6 months is not enough in my opinion. Let's say
Yeah.
at least a year, because you spend more than you think, you make mistakes, you have to pivot, this costs money. So in the end, time runs out quickly. And very often finding an investor also requires to have some idea about product market fit, maybe not perfect, but already a rough idea. So you have to be somewhere, and you need to bootstrap it until there. At least I think this is the reality in the Bulgarian market, where it's not enough to have a 10, 15 slides deck on a tech topic, cybersecurity or whatever, and then you go to pitch it to a VC, and you get around in the millions. I think this rarely works in Europe, and
Yeah.
even more rarely in Bulgaria, I would say.
Yeah. Fully agree. Fully agree. Well, great, Alexander. And maybe one last question. So you're coming to the conference. That's what we started with.
hmm
What can people
Um,
learn in your session, or like, why should
I
people
would
come to your session
say,
during the conference?
most importantly, it will be a very down to earth session, very practical around how to set up things, because you see, from what you told me, Ogi, other participants or speakers in the conference will have extremely bright ideas, extremely innovative. I would say ours is probably more on the other end of the spectrum, but it's about execution. So our USP is, I would say, flawless
Okay.
execution. That's what we aim for. Of course, we can never achieve flawless, but that's our aim. So flawless execution, and in with the specifics of combining work in Bulgaria, setting up a company in Bulgaria, scaling it in Bulgaria, but generating, I would say, close to 100% of the revenue of the company internationally, which is, I think, also something that differentiates us a bit from
Nice.
other
Okay.
startups.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a huge differentiator. And I think you just gave us so many reasons to join your session. So I'm already excited. I'll try to be in the room and to listen to it. So thank you very
Thank
much
you,
once
Ollie.
again,
Thank you very
Alexander.
much also
It
for
was a
the
pleasure as
invitation again,
always, and
and
looking
see you
forward
soon.
to seeing you in November. Okay, great. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I think we learned many things. We learned about the choices that Alexander makes, the skills that he has, how he went about selecting the right partner for his venture, and apparently how he decided it's the right time for him. Apparently, timing is very important, but also this increasing need or increasing urge to be doing things faster and to be doing things on your own. So for those of you who are still considering it, no need to rush and take a decision right now. What you can still do is make an analysis, take some time with yourself, ask yourself what are the main objectives, why do you want to be independent? Is it because you just got angry to some of your colleagues, or is it because you really feel it as your mission and that it's actually your way of being and way of working, doing things on your own, doing it a little bit faster, taking bolder ambition and building what you have in mind, right? So I hope that was helpful. As always, I'm going to ask you for three things. First of all, share this material with someone who is currently in this stage, who is wondering if they should start their entrepreneurial life, they should leave their corporate job. Number two, subscribe. The more subscribers we have, the more brilliant speakers we're going to have. So whenever I reach out to invite them, the lower the chance that they say no. And number three, of course, is take one action. You heard so many things from Alexander in this video about him problem solving, about taking some decisions, about a co-founder, about product market fit, and so on. So just choose one or two of these approaches, try to apply them to your business, and let me know how it went. Thank you very much, and see you soon.